Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Void Menagerie. My name is Jack, this is my coffee break. And last week, we built for these guys. These are bonobos, and I haven't really gotten to build for them in the past, so this habitat was a combination of, not having a lot of experience with them, but then also getting to pull on some of the fun ideas that we get to do in a zoo like, our Void Menagerie, where we're just floating above empty space. So I took the cloud forest literally and built this habitat through here. I'm quite happy with it, but of course at the end of the last episode we spun the wheel, and our next animal that we need to add to the zoo is quokkas. This is another animal I don't have a lot of experience with yet, mostly because they're just so new. So I did some looking around to try and figure out where our best options are for putting this next habitat. Of course, this is all going to depend heavily on where our pathing is going to lead us. So we have a few options here. The first is that we can take this little staircase down and create a platform down here. It's one of the nice things about doing this kind of zoo is that you can have basically unlimited access to all three dimensions. And so we will probably end up utilizing that, because our other option is to go ahead and take a little bridge off of here and put our quokka habitat down in this little gap through here. So it would sit basically along this edge. Both of these, I think, are good. Of course, we also have, this little network up here, this little traversal building that sort of brings you to all the different spaces that we currently have built in the zoo. And of course, we could always begin to branch off of our lion habitat in this massive building structure to try and build out in this direction. Right now, I think our best option is actually going to be to build our quokka habitat down here. And the reason why is because I want to take this path and branch it back out along the side of our entrance, because this entrance platform actually spawns in the center of our map, not the edge. And so we actually have a ton of space that we can go into if we start to expand out towards this area and not just stick moving this way. So I want to be able to open that up right now. So I think what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm going to get this platform built, and then when we are ready to start earnestly adding in our quokkas and start laying down our paths, then I will bring it back in. So I will see you then. Okay, so we are back. I have no idea whether or not my editor kept any of that in. We'll find out, I guess. I never know how these videos go. I hand the footage over and then we find out later. So because of the animals that we're working with, so let me introduce you a little bit. So this is our quokkas. You have probably seen them before. They're quite popular, mostly because of their friendly nature and their danger responses. Let's call it that. These are fascinating animals. They're undergoing some interesting issues right now in the wild. They live right here off the tip of Australia. This map is not, from what I understand, this map is not fully correct in all of their locations. I'm pretty sure that they have other colonies around the coast. But this is mainly where they live. They're fairly endemic to here. And then, a couple of other areas. They have group sizes of 1 to 24. They are confident and guests can interact with them. And what that tells me is that we should try and utilize the new walkabout mechanic. Guest walk-through habitat. I don't know what you call that thing. So to that end, we have this little bit of path right here. So this would be basically like the guest viewing area. And then quokkas can come up, and then depending on what we set our limits to, which we'll probably want to set them fairly low, guests can actually wander around the habitat. So that is something that I want to keep in mind, is that this is going to be a combination of park and quokka habitat. We've also built it in this sort of like dark corner here, and this is because these animals are fairly nocturnal, or they're supposed to be. They've recently transitioned into being diurnal. This is because of the tourists who go and visit them in their natural habitat, typically bringing them food or other shiny objects, and so they've become more diurnal in order to basically take advantage of this free food source. This is not necessarily good for them. They're currently having vision issues. And so in order to respect that, I've tried to keep this habitat kind of dark and secluded away and quiet. And then, of course, so that way we can turn on and off guest interactive features in case they get stressed. So, of course, the next thing that we need to do is turn this relatively giant habitat into a habitat. So that will be what we're focusing on next. For our space, our land requirements, we're currently giving them 2,400 square meters of walkable area, which is far too much. It's quite literally double what their max group size could ever possibly require. And that is good because I want to do a lot of heavy decorating through here. Especially through this. I'd like to have some water elements, I think. So we will definitely be working with a little bit of that. And then, of course, we need to do all of the different rock work and make this area just feel a little bit more cohesive. As for our palette, so we are going to be working with the Oceania grassland. That's mainly what they like. So let's go ahead and pull that up real quick. So grassland, continent, Oceania, terminal blueprints. So interestingly, we can supposedly have baobabs. I don't think that they fit through here. As much as I love this tree, it is very difficult to work into a habitat satisfactorily. Like this is probably the closest that we're going to be able to get, and I'd have to put it like right over here. Of course, we've also got plenty of reeds, we've got these cabbage trees, plenty of flowers, sand sedge, which we can convert into kind of probably a ground cover. I'll work with a little bit of this sort of orange stone a little bit, and then bring in some of the black volcanic rocks. Mainly, I just want to sort of blend this habitat in with most of our other rock work, so that way everything looks more cohesive than it's currently feeling. Very likely we'll have to use our trees intelligently, sparingly. One of those ideas. I'm always a fan of the ghost gum tree, so that might make our way into here. Of course, this coastal pig face. So, with this relatively limited selection of vegetation, we're going to try and build this up. And then, of course, we're also going to try and build up some structures as well, just to see how that all works together. Yeah, so that's basically the overview. I'm going to get into it, and I will see you at our next stopping point. Alright, so we're kind of back. They are once again protesting. We're protesting the chimpanzees. I don't know why. This has been an absolute mess. Oh, it's because they're hungry again. This has been an issue with the monkeys, is that they're not having a great time with the whole food situation. And I don't really know why. But that's not really why I turned the camera back on. Well, I'll deal with them off screen. We came back because our quokkas are finally in the habitat. I did go ahead and swap all of the grass out for dirt. This is apparently something that they like. So if we go here, we've got a little bit too much rock still, but they would like for basically the entire habitat to be nothing but soil with a little bit of sand. But they will tolerate some short grass, so we'll replace some of this with that too. So, of course, we have basically free reign on our coverage. We do have some interference from the Jiren grass upstairs. It'll mostly be this little patch right here. And quite frankly, I'm not too worried about it. So, this basically gives us an idea of what their traversability is. So if we go into here, heat map, we can see that basically the entire island is good, except that they can't actually get in the water. And this is shallow water too. This is not anything to write home about. It's literally like an inch. It's not even enough that I could dip my camera into it. So, useful as a barrier? Absolutely. Of course, next thing that we're gonna do is start to make this look a little bit more sane. And then after we do that, we will start to incorporate the guest features. So obviously we have this little station down here. We will need to expand this to include some sanitary stations. We will need to get their the animals enrichment organized. And then that way we can start to map out where our quokkas and humans are going to be able to interact, and where we need to wall things off from the humans so that way the quokkas can have quiet spaces. So, unfortunately, for me, back to the rock work. The thing that never ends. Okay, so I'm jumping back in here very briefly. So I've been debating where I should go with this habitat. And I've been really enjoying this little section right here of this like ghostwood tree nonsense. And then these fungi. And I think it would be interesting to incorporate more of those aspects into the habitat. Maybe not necessarily the trees themselves, but definitely more like fungi and mushroom. Unfortunately, these are the only mushrooms we have in the game, which I find kind of disappointing. That these are like the extent of our organic mushrooms is just these, when the entire fungi kingdom is enormous. Like, we could have more representation here. But thankfully, the Twilight Pack came out, and we do kind of, sort of, have more mushrooms. We've got these. Now thankfully we're already in a Magic Wizard Zoo. So if we add in giant fungi, I don't think it's going to be out of place. I think it'll help it feel like it fits in a little bit more here. We will be recoloring these and, you know, changing the light and all that kind of stuff to make it fit the vibe a little bit better. But I think this is the direction I want to go in, is start to implement more of this, like, fungal life into here. Still need to add in the water for our little lake. All those little details. But this, I think, at the very least, will help brighten up the space, which I'm sure you can see I've been fighting with the lighting this entire video. So hopefully this will help. Anyway, that's the update. After that, we will get around to the animal encounters, that's what it's called. So we're very close. The only thing we need to add is hygiene stations. And then, yeah, we'll see how the guests interact with the habitat, finish decorating it out, all that kind of good stuff. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to it. I'll see you then. Alrighty, so I think that's going to be the end of our habitat. Hopefully the footage didn't mess up, because I think it may have. I'm hoping it didn't. So yeah, this has been our quokka habitat. I'm not 100% happy with it just yet, but I think that it's really moved in a nice direction. It's very naturalistic compared to most of the other habitats, which are usually pretty heavily themed so far. But I think this one's got enough, like, ambiance, and the mushrooms kind of tie it together. So we'll take a better look at those in a minute. For now, let's do a bit of a walkabout, shall we? So here are our quokkas. They seem quite happy. I think we might get babies. We'll see. We'll see if we get babies. But they're just so precious, aren't they? They're really cute. So we did get the guest walkabout features built in. The guests have so far not really used them, which I find interesting. I don't know if it's an issue of, like, the sanitation stations. I don't know if this is just that I haven't let the game run long enough. But we are getting guests down here, certainly. We're getting plenty of them. They're just not necessarily moving and walking around the habitat. This whole rock edifice up here, I probably could have pushed a lot farther. And honestly, like, I'm not going to right now, simply because I've been working on this for like 3 days. This has taken a really long time to build this habitat, and working upside down like this is very difficult. So I'm going to take a break from that, and maybe I'll finish it in my own time. You know, like many of the other parts of the zoo, I've been working on it on my own occasionally, and then coming back to it and showing it off on episodes. But yeah, so anyway, this has been our quokka habitat. I hope that you all like it. I think it's pretty nice. Yeah, so anyway, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, let me know what you think. We will figure out what our next week's animal is going to be in just a minute. So if you do not want to join us for the spinning wheel, this is gonna basically end off the episode. So yeah, thank you very much. Let me show this off at night for you real quick. Whee! There we go. So here's the quokka habitat at night. We've got the glowing mushrooms, and I changed them to be a little bit more naturalistic, and I didn't realize, but these mushrooms also glow, which is very cool. I like that. I didn't realize that at the time. But yeah, so thank you very much for joining us. If you want to stick around for the wheel, neat. If you don't, then this is really all I have to say. So yeah, thanks for joining me. Have fun, and happy building. Hello again, my wheel people. Anybody want to take bets? What we're doing? What we're gonna get? Because I don't know either. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel and find out. You ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Really just staying in the tropics, aren't we? Okay, alright, we can do sloth bears. Have I built for them yet? Are they new? They might be. I think we just got Baloo. Okay. Alright, let me think about what we're gonna do for him. Well, y'all know the verdict. I'll see you next week. Have a good time. Goodbye. Little quokka. Little quokkas. Wee!